For those of you that don't know me, my name is Miles. Now in just 3 short episodes, Legion has gone from the best premiere I have ever seen to lackluster in almost every way possible. Now, if you disagree, please tell me why in the comments, but I'm about to explain it to you in a very reasonable way. But, hey, shall we begin? Have you heard the story of the poor woodcutter and his wife? One day, a poor woodcutter and his wife found a crane, caught in a trap. Feeling bad for the bird, they freed it. A few days later, on a snowy night, a young woman in white knocked on the door and asked for shelter. The snow didn't stop for days. When it did, the young woman asked if she could live with them. They had grown to love her like a daughter. They said yes. The young woman asked for a loom. She said she would make clothes for them to sell. But, she said, never watch me work. The cloth the young woman spun was fine and beautiful. The woodcutter grew rich, but also curious. One day, while the girl was at her loom, he and his wife peeked inside and saw that she wasn't a woman at all. She was a crane. The crane flew off, never to be seen again. Now, I have transcribed that for you down in the description below if you're curious. I was curious. I thought it was a very good parable. Obviously, we're foreshadowing things here. But it stands to be said, it's a very good story. But what it's foreshadowing is just so obvious, It's like when you look inside David's mind, you might not like what you see and you might scare him off. Well, duh, that was last episode too. I don't understand. Granted, I like this robot coffee maker. I hope he's around for a while. In the preview for the next episode, we hear a new story. But after Ms. Bird hears it the first time, she has to hear another story for another coffee. And of course, it's the same story repeated. So I don't know if the coffee maker is speaking directly to her and about something that would relate to her. I think that is the case. But again, it's an obvious foreshadow, even though it's a great parable, not a whole lot going on. There's not a whole lot going on in the whole episode. We're just getting more of the same, which is why I have such a great disdain for this episode. We are on episode 3. That is a killer episode, in my opinion, for many series, because we've gotten 2 full episodes of exposition. We've gotten some background. Of course, we might not even be done with background until a few seasons in. But we need the story to start ramping up. We need to start getting into the plot. All we have now is David's sister being captured by the government. That is all we have. And we have characters. You need to move forward or you're going to start losing your audience. I know the people that I have talked to feel the same way. It's just too slow. And not only is it too slow, but it's just more of the same. We've seen almost everything that we've seen in this episode before. The only thing new that we got was the new creepy character from the children's book that appears in David's mind. So, is that anything at all? Not really. We've gotten no explanation on that. Not even on the book, even though Ms. Bird got to read it for a second. And also we've gotten no explanation on the devil inside of David's mind. So, where are they going with this? I feel like they just have this amazing story. And they're like, you guys you can't wait to hear it. You can't wait. Oh, you're going to be blown away. Well, guess what? I can wait. If it's not going to come, I'll just stop watching the show. I know it's just 1 episode. We're getting there, and it's, kind of a waiting period for us. And I hope they give us some excitement in the next episode. But that being said, we can't really, even in the next episode, get really far ahead where we want to be. And that reason being is that David is asleep, and we see all the people, chit-chatting around in his head. But that means that we have to get David out of there. Sure, I bet there'll be some self-discovery. I'm sure in the next episode we'll learn some things. But this is like 2 to 3 hours in, We should get something for our troubles for watching it. We've gotten some great CGI and again, great characters, but the plot is just so lackluster in every way. We have no real excitement dragging us along besides this horror and creepiness. And this brings me to my next point, and that I hope Legion does not try to branch in to this horror genre. There is a giant difference between something like American Horror Story and Legion. They're two completely different entities. Sure, you could have a superhero TV show be in the horror genre. I'm not necessarily against it, but I don't think it would work. That reason being is something that a lot of dramas and TV shows in general have to deal with, and as the main characters can't die. And something like American Horror Story, you can kill off the couple main characters, have them come back as ghosts, have them leave. You don't need them to continue the story. You can't kill off David, probably can't kill off Miss Bird, and probably can't kill off Sydney. Not to mention, they do have a cop-out in the fact that someone that dies can be inside of David's mind, but they've already used that on a title character. So, I just really hope they try to stay away from that. Just more towards the drama. I'm okay with the creepiness factoring in, with the horror even factoring in. Scary moments are fine with me. But I do not think it would work as a genre for this show. But moving forward, let's talk about some things that I did like. One, of course, was that parable and the robot coffee maker. I think it's a very cool addition. Another thing I haven't pointed out yet is that, so the creator of this coffee machine was obviously a mutant. So the question is, who made that? One theory would be that Carrie, the lab tech, made it. That being so because he's the smart dude. He runs the lab himself. He has all these cool gadgets. So it's not a stretch to say that he would have built the coffee maker. My personal theory is that it is the eye. That being the government's lackey, who we found out in this episode is actually a mutant. My theory on this is solely basically because we have the parable at the beginning with the crane, and we have him repeatedly saying, "Shall we begin?" And his voice that I wish I could emulate, but I just can't. It's a very nice line. But I think they're trying to tie those two together, if not subconsciously. They're just out in the open, Not to mention, the robot's voice is British a little bit. And the "Shall we begin," which is one of the few things I think we've heard him say, if the only thing we've heard him say, they sound similar. So that is my personal theory. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Other parts I liked, there's, the shower scene, which is which is nice. We got to see Sid Barrett in the shower as well as a few other mutants. But to me, it seems like they had a really light episode on the plot. And they were like, what can we throw in there, to make it okay, to make it excitable? Well, just put the hot girl in the shower. People seem to like that, right? That is true. People do seem to like attractive women in showers. But it just seems like pandering to me. Hey, we're not going to give you anything real this episode, so here's a parable, some cool camera shots. You'll learn a few more things about powers that you've already known or guessed at. There's no real substance, and I just want them, to stop that. We'll see what happens in the 4th episode. Speaking of powers, some things that we have learned about people's powers. We kind of knew that Carrie had some sort of multi-person power before now, but we saw he calls a girl Carrie, another attractive woman in the lab with him, and apparently that is, I think, part of him. We see that girl be absorbed into his body, so I can only assume that he is able to create another person or any number of people that he can. Probably the coolest part of the show that we learned is that Sid actually believes that it is the soul transferring between bodies with her power. So we're not saying that this is a mind transfer. We're not saying it's a body transfer. She believes that it is the soul being transferred from one person to another. And some people have to guess whether or not there's a soul. Sydney can just know. And to me, it seems like speculation at this point. We're very early on. Personally, I do believe it. But, I'm sure her power is pretty nuts, and I'm sure we'll find out more about that in time to come. I'm guessing that Miss Bird also helped her with that as well. Autonomy, speaking of powers again, Autonomy gets to go in the glass room and he's by himself. And he says later that he thinks that he saw some stuff in David's memories. So that leads me to believe that all these memories are being either recorded or stored in some sort of device in that glass room. You can see it at the beginning, and I think in the past episode 2 they also mentioned something as well. So this is just kind of further proof that there's more to autonomy than just diving into someone's memories. That being the case, we also know that David can sort of now resist Autonomy's powers. Autonomy on several occasions tries to, I would say, warp out of the memory, but David either resists or, the blockages in his mind are resisting Autonomy's power. We know that, David is a Omega level mutant, so he does have an extraordinary amount of power, but what I didn't like about this is that Autonomy tries this several times. This is a classic cliche I think we see in TV shows all the time. So you try once, you do something once. Autonomy at the very beginning, they go into the memory and they try to get out. Autonomy acts all surprised, like he's resisting me. I can't leave. Wow. But then, the second time it happens, he acts surprised again. Why do you do this to me? Why? You've already seen it once. It's just bad writing. It's bad producing. And a show that I have claimed to be very high production. I was surprised at a very minuscule but cliche and important detail they just kind of skimmed over. It irks me when they do that, and other things, of course it's going to irk me in Legion. Speaking of Legion, we did get a little update on his powers as well. In the beginning, we can see, again, David using his telekinetic powers to look at his sister in the room. But even more than that, later on, he actually transports a semi-permeable state of him and Sydney to the room where she's being captured. So, the Eye actually tries to reach out and grab David and Sid. But my question is, would that have actually stopped them? Would it have? Or would they have been captured there? They did seem transparent, or I guess translucent would be the better term, but they still seem to be there. So my guess is that yes, they could in fact have been captured. Again, there's no guarantees this early on because we've got no answers. So, hooray. But it was a very cool power nonetheless. If David learns to control that, as Sydney says, he's going to be a badass. The last redeeming quality that I want to bring up is the camera shots and David's memories. Because they do a very, very cool transition where, it's one big house, but every room is a different memory. Very cool in concept, very cool. And the camera shots where, they kind of move, they're running away, they're very scared of the creatures haunting them. Sid can see some of the strange things that David can see as well. Probably because that they switched bodies and also, share some memories now. And I think her mind is probably a little bit infected while inside David's mind. I could be wrong, it could be just in general. But again, these camera shots in the first 2 episodes, I'd have been like, wow, they're stepping it up. They're stepping it up a notch. Great episode and these great production values. But to me, and again, I keep saying this, it seems like pandering to me. Like they have these very cool shots. And they're like, hey, look at what these memories represent. Look at how we can symbolize these memories. That's it. That's it. We don't get the cool plot entailed with those. If we had learned several things in those stories, it's a whole different ballgame. But we didn't, and it just seems like they're trying to put a hat on something bad to make it seem cool. I have very high hopes for Legion still. I think that they're really gonna turn it around. But here we are, the 3rd episode, which should be where the story starts ramping up, plot starts ramping up. You see like a fight or two maybe, but instead we're still doing the same old thing, back in memories. I do expect to see a lot of memories, but you just gotta progress. You will lose your audience. I'm still intrigued by it, and the only reason I'm being so hard on it is because I thought it was going to be perfect. I thought that there wouldn't be any lulls, that they knew what they were doing. I still think they have this perfect plot planned, but execution is lacking harshly. And again, it'll get good again. I do think they could take a whole bunch of wrong turns along the way and still get to a damn amazing show. But until we get there, I have to be critical. That's where we are. But anyways, guys, that about does it for me. I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know your thoughts as well. Let me know if you liked what you saw, if you disagreed with me, if you have any other theories as well. Looking forward to next week so I can get some real content to push out to you guys and explain. If you liked the video though, you can go ahead and like it down below. You can subscribe to our channel. You can check out some of our other stuff. It's all really good, I promise you. I'm not just saying that. But hey, I'll be back again after episode 4. And until then, take care, everybody.